Thanks for joining. I'm Lionel Van Hol, working for UCB as Safety Surveillance Lead and also founder of the Open Source PV initiative. Let me share my screen. Okay. Should be okay now. So this topic is about open source technology in supporting safety. But first, let's define what we mean with open source. So it denotes software for which the original source code is made freely available and may be redistributed and modified. So it's an important precision because sometimes there are different definitions and some people use free for open source, but it doesn't come along with being free in a marketing point of view, but more free to use, free to modify, free to distribute. So that's an important clarification. So in the world of the patient safety, there is already some existing initiative. I will take the example of the Odyssey initiative, which is stands for Observational Health Data Science and Informatics. So their mission is to improve health by empowering a community to collaboratively generate evidence that promotes better health decisions and better care. So concretely, what they do is they work on several tools that help to standardize the different data sources that they have available. It's observational databases, so it can be claims database, electronic record database, and things like that. So they standardize that into a common data model so that they can apply some tools that they have developed for analysis or visualization. And they develop all these tools in a collaborative fashion and in open source fashion, making it available to anyone to use, modify. And this initiative has grown very extensively in the recent years. And you can, for example, check their GitHub here below. You have their GitHub address or their website, and they deliver a lot of tools to the public so that they can use. That's one example, but it's focusing on observational data and not so much on spontaneous report data, which is well the cornerstone of the activities for patient safety, I would say. But it's still working on safety, but on observational data. Sorry. And meanwhile, for signal detection and management activities, we have some good condition to work in a similar fashion because we have similar version of the spontaneous report database. I think most of us we use Argus. There is also another system, but I think there are 2 or 3 different ones. There are some in-house, but really the data are stored in similar database. And even if it's different, it's the same kind of things which is reported. So we basically work on the same data. We use similar methods for detecting quantitative signals. There are only a few variations. There are 4 DPA analysis and just the different ways to fine-tune this. There are alternative methods, but not very popular in terms of usage. We follow similar process for evaluating causality. We have some guidelines, so we follow them. And we generate the same types of regulatory reports within the industry. So we have the same template. We have to fill that in. But we don't really collaborate together in building analytical or visualization tools, which is, in my opinion, a pity. And we don't do this collaboration because we are currently in this business model where all the different pharma companies, they use a software for signal detection. And here, for example, you see on the slides, I take the example of 2 software companies. Now there are a bit more because it has extended over time. Before that, there were only few because it's kind of a niche software with only a few clients, so there are not many companies proposing softwares. So these pharma companies, they have chosen one software and then they maybe provide the requirements to the software company. And the software company basically prioritize the requirements which are common to most of the customers. And then they upgrade their system from version 1, 2, and with some minor and major upgrades. And the competitive software company is doing the same on their side with another set of clients, and is also evolving over time in overall the same direction, but not so much, and maybe at a different pace. And the companies with some specificities like vaccine companies or device company, or there is also cosmetovigilance or hematovigilance or things like that. They are less likely to have common requirements with the big pharma or drug companies. So most likely they are not so well taken care of in this current business model because, again, it's a niche software, and software companies, they have to prioritize the most frequent requirements. It's very legitimate, but that's the way it works. So that's the existing business model. And you have alternatively the open source model. So here I want to clarify, they say free software, but it's because this kind of, it doesn't mean it has to be free of charge. You can have some marketing activities related to open source technology. It's more free in the sense of being open and freely available to modify or use. And it really shows that if you want to benefit from the redistribution, the utilization, the learning adaptability, you have to work with licenses that allow free distribution and modification. It's a condition so that you can benefit from all these improvements, utilization, and also adaptability. It means also that the source code, yeah, I said that, but it has to be available and also with content and executable programs. And this model is very different from the software, the business model I described previously. So this one. It allows more interaction between users and developers, and much more reuse and transparency. So, well, it's not like some fantasy that I'm describing here, like a perfect but an accessible world. You have the nice example of the FDA initiative, which is called OpenFDA. So even before OpenFDA initiative, FDA released a lot of data sources to the public, like VAERS data, so vaccines adverse events report database being available to the public. Same thing for VAERS. And they now have, for example, their data related to food, drug, device, tobacco. So you can download them. So that's really making the data source available to the public. They also released some tools. So you have the OpenEBGM. I'm not pretty sure it belongs to FDA initiative, but at least it has been written by two people working for the FDA. They provided their email address from the FDA when they released the OpenEBGM. And I think it's really a game changer in the industry, because before it was very technical to implement the EBGM if you wanted to do it on your own, or you only had a few companies making it available in their software. Of course, BGM is not the only method, but some people want to use this one. And if they wanted to use, they only had these two alternatives, either developing it in-house or using then the companies, the software from the companies who made it available. And they release a lot of more tools on their GitHub, so you can check. I put their GitHub here below in the corner. So it provides a raw data download, some documentation and examples, but also their code. So they have written code in Python, in JavaScript, in C++, in R, but also in HTML for all a set of tools. But they don't only release the tools and the data, they also release some solution. So they made available AirShiny dashboard at this address, where you can it's like a dashboard. You can navigate within and access the data from fares and look at different signals or quantitative scores that have been generated for the different drugs. So they have kind of shown the way of using open source technology on data that they made public and in all transparency in terms of tools, which I think is really great, and it should trigger ideas on how we could do the same on our own data, so company data, maybe not releasing our own data to the public for obvious reasons, PII or the fact that we just want to, I don't know, we might not want to release that much, but at least for the tools, we definitely have a common interest to apply the same model. So when I try to see if we have or if the technology landscape is mature enough for developing tools for doing so, I think it's pretty mature. For example, for quantitative signal detection, we have OpenEBGM package, as I mentioned, released by FDA, I would say, workers, if not by FDA itself. PHVID from the INSERM, where they release some other methods for the ROR, the PRR, and things like that. It's a very nice package that has been there for a while. So you can also use the AirShiny, if you want to build a dashboard that allows you to display the quantitative scores that have been generated along with the original data. That's one possibility, which is open source. And you also have something which is very, very nice and not really used in the industry, at least in patient safety, which is R Markdown. So R Markdown works like basically you have your template, for example, the report you want to generate, one of your report. And within this template, you can fill that in with the R code that generates the result. For example, number of cases with that condition and condition. Instead of putting a number, you just put like the SQL code that would derive that number, and then it populates automatically the template with the right data. And this data can be numbers, can be percentages, can be complex statistics because it's connected to the R server, and it could be tables, and it can be figures. So basically, it's here a world where we could fill in some regulatory reports, I would say automatically, almost, as long as you have the data in your Argus database or whatever tool it is. And then, of course, you have to put your interpretation of the data in a manual fashion. But all these steps of copy pasting values or copy pasting tables and figures can be a thing of the past if we use that technology. But the software industry still has a strong advantage in terms of workflow management. I try to investigate open source and easy to use workflow management, but I didn't find something interesting or something really as shiny as the tools I described before. But maybe it's because I used the wrong Google queries. Who knows? Maybe there is something. If ever you learn something, please contact me. I would be very interested to play with it. So I would like to describe and summarize a little bit the benefits that you could have from an open source approach. The main one, I think, is about transparency, because you know exactly what the tools you are using are doing, because you can see the source code. It's not the case when you are using an off-the-shelf software. Sometimes evil is in details, and you didn't check that scenario, but it's doing something unexpected, and you have no clue why. You can have regulatory authorities and companies contributing side by side. So that means you could benefit from what other companies have done in the past or what regulatory authorities are doing, or you can use the same tools as they are doing if they have released it also into the public. So yes, that means you can benefit from what they have done. You can have higher quality than in traditional software development. It's because as the code is open, it's most likely to be corrected in case there are errors. It's a little bit like the debate there was before between Wikipedia and Encyclopedia, which is the best. And they have shown that when it's open, then it's most likely to be corrected when there are easy errors to fix, at least. Error easy to fix, sorry. The cost would be decreased, not for all aspects, because of course, if you are using open source technology, it means you also invest in some way in people being able to use the technology. So that part of the cost increase, but the license cost dramatically decrease because you don't have or less license to buy. It tells me just a few minutes left, so that's okay. And you have also faster development using latest technology. So indeed, you are not stuck with the roadmap of your software. If there are new technology like data-driven document D3, allowing you to use really very nice visualization, you can suddenly use it. You are not tied, so you can use the latest technology available. And it's faster because all this development happen in parallel. For example, UCB is interested in developing it, and in parallel, some other company might develop something, and it's not sequential. It's really in parallel development, so it's faster. And you have also a wider development because even if the need is very specific, one company developing it is enough to make it available to all the other companies. And again, there is not this prioritization that happens in terms of requirement specification as in the software company. So yes, that's the end of my presentation. I hope it has at least triggered interest in open source technology and its benefits, and happy to take questions in this video format that I will discover. Thank you very much.